It was the kind of rain that makes a city look honest. No postcard shine, just gray edges and water moving where it wants. I shouldn't have been home at 1:30 on a Tuesday. I was supposed to be downtown, walking through a lobby where our crew had just switched out the old high-gloss finish for a satin one that wouldn't turn the floor into an ice rink every time it rained. But I'd left my clipboard on the kitchen counter, schedules, checklists, a bid that needed my initials on page 11, and without it I feel like a carpenter without a tape measure. "Dylan?" I called as I keyed into the condo, one of those narrow, one-bedroom places in a big American city where you learn to stack your life vertically. We were urban because he liked night noise and I liked being close to our clients' buildings. I shook rainwater from my sleeve. "You home?" Silence first, then a breathy giggle from behind the bedroom door. A familiar, not familiar sound. My brain, loyal in the dumbest ways, offered me explanations. A video on his phone, a podcast, neighbors. I pushed the door open. Marissa, my sister, was standing in my blue button-down with Reed Facility Services stitched over the pocket, sleeves rolled to the elbow like she worked for me, which she didn't. Dylan, my husband then, was shirtless on the edge of the bed. Two faces snapped toward me, each calculating what I'd seen and what I might be willing to unknow. "Oh my God," Marissa said too fast, then pivoted with professional poise. "Ava, wait. You got this wrong." Dylan stood, palms out. "Babe, hang on. It's not what you think." I was still holding my keys. I remember thinking I had no idea where to put them. Drop them on the dresser? My side? The chair? The nightstand? Currently holding Marissa's phone? "What?" I said calmly, like I was asking for a definition in a meeting. "Am I getting wrong?" "We were talking," Marissa said. She flapped the top sheet to cover her legs, directing the scene even when caught. "Just talking about you, about how to help. You came home early?" "Just talking," I repeated, looking at Dylan's bare chest and the familiar slope of his shoulder. He had that handsome, slightly slouchy look that made strangers forgiving. "Okay, it looks bad," Dylan said, the kind of man who believes naming the obvious softens it. "I can see how it looks. You and I have been off lately and Marissa was helping me figure out how to talk to you." "Without shirts?" I asked. Marissa scoffed. "You're being dramatic, which is actually funny because lately you've been this robot. Lists and labels and bins. You spend money on these stupid ideas that never work and you call it strategy. Who needs 5 kinds of mop heads?" "Commercial clients," I said out of habit. Accuracy is a reflex. I'd built a 100-person commercial cleaning company by being allergic to hand-wavy. "There it is," she said, rolling her eyes. "You always think you're the smartest person in the room, but you're just throwing money at nothing, playing at being important. Ava, you're a loser with expensive markers. Dylan needs a wise woman with him." The old carpet groaned under Dylan's heel as he reached for his jeans. He glanced at a framed photo, us at the lake 2 summers ago, the sky too blue to be real. For a half second, something soft crossed his face. Then he slid back into the story he'd chosen. "We can talk. You're misunderstanding." I set my keys down deliberately on my side of the dresser. "Both of you," I said. "Get dressed. Get out." "Don't make this weird," Marissa said, buttoning my shirt without looking down like she'd rehearsed. "We didn't plan for you to come home." That sentence, the confidence of it, was the only thing that made heat rise. My home. Their plan. "Leave," I said, not louder, not shaking. Something in me had already walked out of the room. Dylan muttered, "You don't have to be cruel," as if I'd done the hurting. Marissa brushed my shoulder on the way past, a queen leaving a room she'd conquered. "You'll thank me," she said lightly, "when you realize what life is like without someone dragging you down." The door shut. The sound of their shoes on the stairwell thinned into city noise. The bedroom wasn't a crime scene, just a mess of normal life interrupted, cover pulled back, a cufflink on the floor, though we hadn't worn anything cufflinked in 2 years, my shirt wrong on the wrong body. I stripped the bed and ran the washing machine hot. I took a sleeve of blue shop towels from under the sink and wiped every surface with disinfectant until the condo smelled faintly like the lobbies we keep safe when a stomach bug tears through a building. Lemon, alcohol, resolve. I found my clipboard where I'd left it, under the week's mail. On top was a big box flyer advertising TVs I could buy now without checking my bank balance. 2 years earlier, I'd have counted pennies. 3 years earlier, I'd have asked Dylan if he thought we could swing it. I flipped to the blank page at the back of my clipboard and wrote a note in thick block letters, the way I do when a thought becomes policy. Boundaries are cleanlinesses. I slid the note into the front sleeve, where I keep signatures and specs. Then I grabbed my jacket and went back out into the rain, because invoices don't send themselves and someone had to check whether the new green neutral cleaner actually cut the scuff marks on vinyl tile or just made the place smell virtuous. On the drive across town, Keisha, my day crew lead, called. "Boss, those looped microfiber pads are back ordered," she said. "We can zigzag weave, same price point. Want me to spot test or just pull the trigger?" "Spot test," I said. "If they streak, we eat the difference and swap next month." "Copy that. You good?" Keisha asked, the gentleness tucked in neat. "I will be," I said. "Thanks." By the time I got to the West Side lobby, the rain had shifted to a mist. People walked in the door with their shoulders creeping down, looking relieved to step onto a floor that didn't make them skate. I watched a man pause and take in the shine like he'd walked into a slightly better world than he left, and I thought, "You're welcome. You don't have to know my name." My phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You'll regret this." I deleted it and added one more line to my clipboard page. Document everything. I went home that night to a bed remade, to a room that smelled clean, to a life that had just lost a shape and was waiting for the next to click in. I lay awake listening to the fan and promised myself that whatever came next would be something I chose. On purpose, with both hands. Depression for me didn't look like bed. It looked like doing exactly what needed doing and nothing that didn't. I woke before dawn, made coffee that tasted like resolve, and walked through lobbies with checklists in my head, measuring where the scent of the disinfectant dropped off, noting the corners where dust tried to nest. I ate because my crew would notice if I didn't. I slept because I could not afford mistakes. The crying came in strange, clean bursts, staring at a label printer that wouldn't pair to the network, or peeling the backing off a new sign that said, "Wet floor, piso mojado," and suddenly understanding that bilingual warnings were the truest metaphor for my life. We were already 100 employees when the bottom fell out of the economy. In 2008 and 2009, the city shrugged off what it could and bared bone in places that scared people. Layoffs swallowed whole departments. Budgets went from "see next quarter" to "cut it yesterday." But some things buildings can't stop buying: safety, sanitation, and the quiet comfort of knowing that on Monday morning the elevators won't smell like Friday night. We leaned into that. I'd always been on the nerdy end of clean. Quality audits, route optimization, barcode check-ins for restrooms so someone had to look twice before they initialed a checklist. Now I doubled down. We adopted a scheduling app long before apps were the reflex. Crew leads scanned QR codes when they finished zones. I trashed 3 lines of products that left residues and switched to a green chemical system with dilution tips that made sure a neutral cleaner stayed neutral, not sticky. We built a safety culture that a hospital would envy. OSHA audits didn't terrify us because our people could recite the story of why we don't mix better than any inspector. While the city shivered, we warmed slightly. A few big-name tenants asked us to bid on common areas as part of cost-saving consolidations. A property management firm, spooked by a different contractor's infection scare, asked if we could put a day porter in a lobby all day, every day for 3 weeks, and then justify the invoice in writing. Yes. Always yes, when the answer meant safety. Between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., I lived in hallways where my name got passed like a good rumor. Between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., I lived in a small office 2 floors above a deli that survived on soup, where Nate, HR, steady as a plumb line, drafted trial shift agreements and trudged through workers' comp filings, and I tried to pretend my life hadn't cracked exactly where I should have seen it coming. At exactly 6 months post-betrayal, I stood in the mechanical room of a high-rise where the air tasted like metal, stared at a printout confirming we'd landed a regional facilities contract, and felt something long and harsh unhook from behind my ribs. It wasn't joy, too bright for the room, but it was something like space. I met Peter 3 days later. He wasn't a fix. He wasn't a miracle. He was a civil engineer with a heavy laugh and an easy way of not trying to impress anyone. His firm handled retrofits, elevators, HVAC, all the guts of buildings that tenants forget. He'd done a walkthrough with a building manager we shared and happened to linger when I was talking to Keisha about a floor scrubber that kept leaving a crescent of grime along the baseboards. "You know," he said, hands in his jacket pockets like he was talking about sandwiches, "if you run the scrubber off the wall and come back on the opposite angle on your second pass, you'll get rid of that crescent. The squeegee just can't get that close without a little choreography." I raised an eyebrow at the word choreography and at the physics in his mouth. He grinned like a man who could explain torque and then let you choose whether you cared. "It's not my business," he said, "but I like it when things work." "Me too," I said. It sounds corny to say that was the first moment I believed my life might be better because of what happened to me, but I remember the shape of his mouth around work and the way he listened when Keisha weighed in, and it felt like finding a door I hadn't known to look for. We grabbed coffee a week later at a place where you can get your latte extra hot because the barista knows construction workers drink their coffee on the move. We talked about building guts and load, about the particular sadness of a clean but abandoned floor of a building, about how people say janitor and mean invisible. He never once suggested a way to make my company better. He asked questions, patient ones, and then said, "That sounds smart." When I explained the unsexy logic of how we routed our day porters across a campus so that in an 8-hour shift, the restrooms got cleaned 6 times and the lobbies 8 without paying for a single wasted mile. When I talked about our crew member who had 6 grandkids and had been quietly buying them winter coats for years, he said, "She sounds like an anchor." When I admitted I'd stopped sleeping next to the side of the bed that had been Dylan's, he said, "I've never liked sleeping on the edge either," and smiled without trying to make it better. We got married faster than I would have in the other life. 9 months after that first coffee, our families clapped while a judge pronounced us something new. My mother cried softly in the back and later told me she'd never seen me look like that, which I chose to hear as blessing and not as grief about where my sister was. I told myself I'd forgiven Marissa because that's what decent people say when they're tired of carrying a rock around. I told myself I'd forgiven Dylan because I no longer woke up with his name like a bruise in my mouth. And I meant it, or wanted to. A year after I met Peter, 18 months after the sheets and the carpet and my sister in my shirt, reception called from our main office. "Ava," Karina said in a careful voice, "2 people are here asking for you. They say they're family." I knew before she said the names. Some things your bones recognize quicker than your brain. "Tell them I'll be right down," I said, and looked at Peter, who was flipping through a submittal packet at my desk. He lifted his eyes to mine. I didn't have to explain. He nodded once. "Let me walk you," he said. They looked smaller. Maybe it was the lobby, 2-story glass, polished stone, a plant wall I'd argued for in a bid because the psychological lift paid dividends in tenant satisfaction. Maybe it was simple hunger. Marissa wore a trench coat that had seen things and tried not to show it, collar up, hair scraped off her face. Dylan's suit had an elbow shine that told the truth any resume would hide. "Ava," Marissa said, pronouncing my name like it tasted different now. "We need to talk." "I'll give you space," Peter said, and stepped aside like a man who knows that sometimes love means being near but not in the frame. He went to the reception desk and chatted about nothing important. I saw Karina clock the ring on his hand and relax. "We lost our jobs," Dylan said. It came out like a confession he wasn't used to making. "It's the economy, you know." I did. He'd been a mortgage loan originator for a subprime shop that had been a rocket ride until rockets started falling. Marissa had been an assistant buyer for a boutique chain with champagne tastes and a sales floor that suddenly couldn't move anything, not marked down 70%. The recession had teeth, and it liked chewing on people who thought they were clever and immune. "We're not asking for a handout," Marissa said quickly, seeing my face do the math. "We'll do anything legit. We heard you were doing okay." "We're stable," I said. "We're careful." "We can start today?" Dylan said. "Trial, whatever. Just anything." Behind them, Peter pretended to study an art print. He wasn't pretending to listen. He didn't have to. He was the sort of man who trusts you to be exactly as strong as you already are. "There are openings," I said finally. "Cleaning. We like to start people in common areas so crew leads can see the work. It's low glamour and high standards. Trial shift, different sites, rotating schedules. Willingness to follow instructions matters more than your past job titles." Marissa's jaw twitched. "We're not above anything," she said, too fast. "I know what above looks like," I said quietly. "You'll be together," I added, because I didn't want to manufacture a moral lesson by splitting them. "And a crew lead will train you. You'll get a vest, gloves, goggles if you're scrubbing. Your trial shifts are paid. We'll see after a week." "Thank you," Dylan said. He sounded like he had to push the word past a hard place. "Really, thank you." Marissa nodded without exactly looking at me. "It means a lot," she said. It sounded like she meant it means more than you deserve to give. "Be here tomorrow at 7, I said. "Karina will give you the site address and contact. It's a good lobby with a hard floor. You'll learn a lot fast." 7, Dylan said, as if the syllables were something he could swallow and turn into energy. Peter and I watched them leave. He didn't reach for my hand. He didn't tell me I'd done something noble. When we were alone, he said, "You okay?" "I think so," I said. "I want to be." He nodded. "Let's go look at that gear room. Keisha said the new dilution tips came in." We walked back past reception. Karina lifted her eyebrows lightly. "You good?" she asked in that way that means I can make your day easier if you tell me how. "I'm okay," I said. "Thanks." A lobby is a city's face as much as any skyline. Ours was cool marble, brushed steel, plants that didn't pretend they were anything but curated. At 7 a.m., the place hums with vacuum lines and plans. The auto scrubber glides like a big, gentle animal. Water down, squeegee up, squeegee down, water vacuumed into a belly where we'll later dump it and log the volume because we log everything. Marissa and Dylan wore new vests that made everyone look briefly equal. Keisha showed them where to stage the yellow caution signs, how to stack mats at a diagonal, how to put a foot on the edge of a mat so it doesn't slide while you flip it. "Don't over-soap," Keisha said. "Film attracts dirt. We want clean, not sticky. Eyes on your lines. Listen for the pitch of the squeegee. You can hear when you're good." "I'm not deaf," Marissa muttered. Keisha didn't blink. She had girls and grandkids and a memory palace for every way pride can make work harder. "Didn't say you were," she replied evenly. I said, "Listen." I arrived with Peter for a walkthrough at 8:30. We weren't there to be seen. We were there because that's what we do. We show up, we look, we fix small things before they become stories. Marissa looked up from her mop and watched us cross the floor, Peter's hand at my back like an easy punctuation mark. Her eyes did the inventory they've always done. Watch, ring, coat, posture, the thing I couldn't hide. Happiness that didn't apologize for itself. Dylan was guiding the auto scrubber. He kept his eyes on the floor until he couldn't. Then he glanced up quickly and looked away even faster. I nodded to both like we were in any other lobby on any other morning. "Good morning?" I said. "How's the machine feel?" "Fine," Dylan said. "It's fine." "Keep your second pass at a slight angle," Peter said, gentle. "You'll eliminate that crescent at the edge." Dylan blinked like someone had given him a cheat code. "Okay," he said, and I caught the smallest flash of relief on his face, a thing he could do better in 60 seconds. Marissa's jaw flexed. She watched Peter watch me. She looked at his hands and then at mine. She looked at the reflection of us in the steel column and her lips pressed in like she was holding blood behind them. "Carry on," I said to Keisha, who nodded like we'd passed a test and she was proud in a quiet way. We went upstairs to review a janitor's closet we were converting into a supply station, a small victory in a world that denies cleaners any space that isn't a leftover. On the way back down, we crossed paths again. The auto scrubber hummed a lower note, running the angle Peter had suggested. The crescent disappeared. Dylan glanced up and reflexively smiled. "That tip worked," he said, as if he couldn't help giving the world a scrap of credit. "Good," Peter said, the word a gift and a boundary. Marissa watched our exchange like a person pressed against glass, and I understood then that forgiveness can be honest and still not be welcome. I'd told myself I'd forgiven them because I didn't want to drag a rock from day to day. Seeing her face, I realized I'd mistaken the absence of immediate hate for the presence of love. These were different currencies. You can turn one into the other only with time and truth, and we were short on both. If you run crews long enough, you can tell day two at a glance. Day one is often competent theater. Day two asks if you learned anything. At 10, Mr. Delgado, the building supervisor, radioed Keisha. "Spill on 2, elevator vestibule." Keisha sent Marissa and Dylan together because she was testing their communication as much as their skills. They arrived to find somebody had knocked over a takeout cup. Sugary coffee, sticky as gossip. "Caution sign first," Keisha had drilled. "Then block with your body so foot traffic doesn't walk through. Then address the spill." Marissa put out the sign, then angled her body away from an incoming tenant who sidestepped and planted a heel right into the puddle. He slid, caught himself, cursed politely, and glared at Marissa like she'd spilled the coffee on purpose. "No one told him to look down?" she said under her breath, loud enough for the echo to carry. "Sorry about that," Dylan said to the tenant. "We should have blocked better. Are you all right?" "I'm fine," the tenant said because he was embarrassed. He flicked a look at Marissa and jogged to the elevator. Marissa's cheeks went red. "I'm not getting paid to be everyone's mom," she snapped. "You're getting paid to prevent slip and fall claims," Keisha said evenly when she arrived. She had a way of being steady that made you feel silly for resisting gravity. "Block better next time. Dylan, nice recovery." They cleaned the coffee. Dylan moved the sign to the correct angle for traffic flow. The world went on. That afternoon, Keisha assigned them restroom duty, a crucible and a grace. If you can do restrooms well, you can learn almost anything about humility and process. Marissa balked. "I am not scrubbing grout," she said. I'm not built for that." "Neck, back, knees, none of us are built for that," Keisha said. "That's why we use long-handled brushes and why we alternate motions. You're not better than this work. You're just new to it." "Do you talk to everyone like this?" Marissa asked, voice knife-sharp. "When they think they're better than the work? Yes," Keisha said, not bothering to soften. Dylan tried to break the tension. "It's just grout," he said. "We'll knock it out." He over-soaped. "It happens. You want it to look clean, so you put your faith in the bottle and not your training." The floor went slick. He moved too fast with a wet mop, the head folding instead of gliding, water pooling near a low electrical outlet that had survived 20 years of mopping only by luck. "Watch your..." Keisha started, but the water kissed the outlet and the outlet spat like an offended cat. The metal gave a little pop and blew a breaker down the hall. The lights went out for 6 offices and a conference room. "Everyone back," Keisha said, body already between the outlet and her people. "No one touch anything. I'll call Delgado." Dylan swore under his breath, the way a man does when he realizes he brought bad luck on himself. "My fault," he said, before anyone could shame him into it. He looked straight at Keisha. "My fault." "It won't happen again," Marissa declared, as if words could rewind. "And honestly, you should have that outlet lifted. It's not up to code. We could sue if one of us got hurt." Keisha blinked slowly. "You won't," she said, "because you'll be more careful, and because we don't sue our clients for problems we create." She radioed Mr. Delgado, who radioed the building engineer, who reset the breaker and shook his head because he'd been telling management to raise that outlet for months, and now he had leverage. "Write-ups," Keisha told me over the phone. "One for her insubordination, one for his safety error. I know it's trial, but we should document." Document everything, I said softly, looking at the note on my clipboard. Bring them to Nate. Nate, our HR manager, has a voice like a level in a carpenter's hand, steady with a faint bubble slide when he's navigating a slope. He slid the incident reports across my desk and waited. You want to handle the conversation? He asked. No, I said. Yes. I sighed. No, I want it done by the book. One strike on trial is termination, right? Depends on the strike, Nate said, but these qualify. I don't want to be judge and jury because I'm family, I said. I also don't want to punt the hard part because I'm family. We can do it together, he said. You set the boundary. I read the policy. We keep it humane. We called them in at the end of the shift. They sat side by side like kids pulled from recess. Dylan's hands were clean in that pink way they get after too much soap. Marissa had reapplied lipstick and a layer of disdain. We document trial shifts, I began. You're given expectations like any other employee. Today there were 2 significant issues. I looked at Dylan first because he'd looked me in the eye in the restroom hallway. Over-soaping near a low outlet caused a safety risk and a power loss. That's on me, he said before I finished. I over-soaped. I moved too fast. I'm sorry. It can't happen, I said, and kept my voice in that place where it starts to shake if you try too hard to make it kind. We're trusted in spaces where one mistake costs more than a day's work. I appreciate your ownership. It doesn't change the outcome. I turned to Marissa. There were 2 instances of insubordination, I said. One with a tenant, one with your lead. We don't talk to our people or our clients like that. Marissa leaned back in the chair, legs crossed like a dare. You love this part, don't you? No, I said. I hate it. I love running a company where people can trust that the rules aren't different because someone's related to me. I'm your sister, she said flatly. You're really firing me from mopping floors. I'm terminating your trial, I said. Both of you. You'll be paid for the hours you worked this week? Dylan looked at his hands. I get it, he said. I do. Thank you for the chance. Marissa laughed once, a sound like a plate cracking. You are unbelievable, she said. You kick us when we're down, and you think you're better. You and your... Her eyes flicked to my ring. You and your upgrade. You think we won't get back up? No, I said. I think whether you get back up has nothing to do with whether I hold my line at work. I should have known you'd do this, she said, standing. You've always had a mean streak, Ava. You just hide it and clean. Please return your vests at reception, Nate said smoothly, and slid an envelope across the desk with the hours documented and the trial shift agreement, the only part of the day I let him take the lead on. We wish you well. Marissa slapped the envelope back onto the desk without looking. Dylan took his quietly. They left without slamming the door. The absence of the slam felt louder than if they'd put a hole in the wall. After they were gone, Nate exhaled through his nose. You okay? No, I said honestly. And yes, and no, and yes. He nodded. That's about right. Peter met me in the hallway the way he always does, circling without hovering. Walk? He asked. We walked 2 blocks to a place that gives you iced tea in cups big enough to anchor you. We sat on a bench and watched the city inhale late afternoon heat and exhale sirens. I know what I did is right for the company, I said. I don't know if what I did is right. Full stop. Peter took a long drink, buying time as engineers do when words require weight. If you were alone in this world, he said finally, you could decide that right meant swallowing anything and everything, but you're not. You have 100 people. Their rent and groceries and pride depend on you taking the rules seriously. I know, I said, but I also know they're going to slide. They're already sliding. Maybe, he said, and maybe hitting bottom is the only thing that teaches some people gravity. I hate that, I said. He nodded. I do too. Cities have corners you don't look at when your life works. A receptionist's cousin had a husband who wired for a mechanic on the far side of the Beltway. That's how the rumor found me. "They're in that trailer park by the frontage road," she said. "You know the one, behind the used car lot with the patriotic bunting year-round. He's drinking. She's loud." I didn't go. I wrote down addresses for workforce centers, state-run rehab intake, a union apprenticeship program that had taken one of our night porters and turned him into a journeyman electrician in 4 patient years. I put them in a plain envelope and left it with the guard at our main site with, "For anyone ready to start over," on the front. I didn't write names. I didn't sign it. It was a net I could throw into a river without congratulating myself for being the kind of person who throws nets. Sometimes at night I'd hear laughter from the sidewalk below our condo, the kind that has a mean edge to it. I'd feel the old fear that someone was laughing at me, and then I'd look at Peter asleep on his side, one hand lax on the sheet, and I would breathe. My therapist, a woman who wore cardigans that looked like blankets, had once told me, "Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's refusing to carry the knife by the blade." I repeated that sometimes while brushing my teeth, foam making the words ridiculous. It still helped. Work kept moving in the way that makes a person feel both useful and small. We implemented a quality audit run of restroom QR codes. Tenant complaints dropped by 42% in 2 months. We changed a peroxide-based cleaner that left paper towel fibers welded to mirror edges and watched the streaks disappear like a magic trick. Our OSHA recordable rate stayed clean. Not because we were lucky, but because we ran drills like a team that respected every ankle turned and every ladder foot placed wrong, even in practice. People started quoting me to me, which is a particular kind of weird. "Boundaries are cleanlinesses," Keisha said to a new day porter who was letting tenants walk across a still wet lobby because he was afraid to redirect a man with a briefcase. "If she says it once, take it as law," she added, and the new porter straightened like someone had lent him a spine. Peter and I found a rhythm that felt like home. Early mornings in gear rooms, midnights with hot chocolate on the fire escape, because nights smell like real weather up there. He kept a toothbrush in my vanity and then kept everything. When he laughed, the sound made my shoulders drop. He loved me like a person you choose every day, not a thing you win once. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking, I would not have met him if my life hadn't broken. The thought brought gratitude that scared me. I wanted to send a thank you note to the universe with a PS saying, "Please don't require this again, dot." The bus pulled up, side open, swallowed them, and left a square of damp on the curb. "Do you ever wonder if I did the right thing?" I asked, not taking my eyes off the place where they'd been, the wet now reflecting a triangle of sky. "Every day," Peter said, because he doesn't lie to me. Then he added, as if the addendum was a kind of prayer, "And I think you did the right thing for the people who count on you, and for yourself." "What if those two things are the same?" I asked. "What if they're always the same and I keep pretending they're separate because it's easier to feel like a good person when I think I'm choosing someone else over me?" "Then congratulations," he said wryly. "You finally joined the rest of us in the land where choices aren't neat." I laughed, and it came out like a hiccup. "I hate nuance," I said. "No," he said. "You hate cruelty. Nuance is just the scrub brush." We brought bagels to the night crew. Keisha cut them with a plastic knife because knives go missing in gear rooms faster than mops. The crew told me stories about elevators that didn't want to stop at 9 and about a little boy who had waved at a day porter like she was a queen. Someone turned on the radio quietly, and for 5 minutes my life was just heat in my hands and the sound of people I loved teasing each other about who hoards the cream cheese. The first fight Peter and I had that felt dangerous, like an earthquake you feel in your bones before the world shakes, was about whether I should call my mother. She missed Marissa so much she turned missing into a way of seeing. She kept asking me if I'd talk to my sister, and when I said no, she frowned at me like I was the one who didn't know how family works. "I should call her," I said, "my mother, just to say I'm okay, and that I'm not the villain in the story she's telling herself." "You can call her," Peter said, "but you can't make her tell a different story." "I know," I said. "You want her to pick you," he said. I cried then, not because of the sentence, but because of how gently he said it. "Yes," I said. "I want that so much I hate myself for it." "She might not," he said, "and I will still pick you." every day. I called. My mother answered on the second ring and cried and told me she loved me and asked if I had tried being kinder. I said yes. I didn't list the ways because lists make my mother defensive. She told me Marissa had a hard life. I told her I knew. She told me Dylan had promise. I told her he did. She told me forgiveness is a commandment. I told her she was putting commandments on me that didn't go on my sister. It's not a scoreboard, my mother said, and I said, it is exactly that when rent is due. We hung up with our hearts bruised and our mouths sweet because we are Midwestern enough to say, okay, honey, when we mean I love you, and I wish you were less like yourself. Peter listened to me breathe afterward like I was a small animal calming down. True love isn't a fix, he said, when I told him I felt stupid for leaning on him so hard. It's a foundation. You don't apologize for standing on a foundation. He kissed my forehead. I didn't apologize. We lost a crew member to a better job. My favorite kind of loss. She left with a laugh and a hug and a promise to send pictures of her apprentice badge at the Union Hall. I put her name on our boomerang list in case she ever wanted to come back, because people who leave us for more money or more stability are the ones I always want again. The city passed a low-level ordinance about trash chutes. We wrote a protocol and laminated it. A tenant wrote a note to our day porter on a napkin. Thank you for making the lobby smell like childhood, and Keisha taped it inside the gear room locker where people stick their talismans. When the first cold snap came, I asked Karina to leave a stack of black knit caps at reception and a box of hand warmers under the desk for day porters who forget gloves. It made tenants feel cared for, which made property managers feel like heroes, which made my invoices move faster. It also kept a man I've never seen from losing his ear to the wind. I put another envelope in the guard's hands, addresses for clinics that do sliding scale counseling, a church basement that runs an AA meeting I trust because it kept a janitor I love sober through the death of the dog he thought was his heart. For anyone ready to start over, the front said again. I didn't think specifically of Dylan and Marissa when I wrote it. I also did. On a Tuesday morning that looked like a salt shaker had gone wild in the sky, I walked into a hospital we'd just added to our account list. The smell there is a different math than office buildings, lemon plus bleach plus fear plus coffee plus hope. The night crew looked like warriors in fluorescent light. I loved them in a way that startled me. Fierce, protective, proud of their quiet and their competence. A new hire named Tiff, long braid, eyes like she's seen everything and makes you earn her laugh, looked at my name tag and said, "You related to a Marissa Reed?" I felt my heart do a small, dumb jump like someone had popped a balloon in the next room. "Yes," I said. "We share parents." "She checked herself into the women's program on the east side," Tiff said. "I go to meetings. Saw her there last week." My mouth had too many words in it. "Is she okay?" I managed. 3 months after the termination, I walked into a site near the river with Peter at my side and a bag of bagels in my hand because I'd promised the night crew and I don't break promises to people who keep my name safe in places I can't see. The lobby glass was so clean it made me feel like I should apologize for breathing near it. We were talking about a retrofit that might require overnight coordination. Trash chutes sealed, negative pressure brought in, a ballet of contractors and cleaners when I saw them. Across the street, at the bus stop in front of the used tire place that had a mascot shaped like a giant smiling sidewall, Dylan and Marissa stood with a grocery bag between them. Dylan's face had gotten that soft look drinking gives some men, like their edges are dissolving. Marissa's jaw looked clenched so long it had reset there. She saw me first. Her body went still like prey trying to decide whether stillness meant safety. Peter followed my line of sight. He didn't gasp or say anything. He squeezed my arm very lightly, a semaphore that meant, "I'm here and I will let you lead and I won't let you fall and I won't go over there." "She's mad," Tiff said, which is both not an answer and exactly the answer. "But she's in a room where people don't care if she's mad. They care if she's there. She was there." I nodded. "Thanks for telling me," I said. I wanted to ask more. I didn't. Boundaries are cleanlinesses. Curiosity about the lives of people who hurt you is a kind of dirt you carry back into your own house and then complain about when it gets on the floor. I walked a corridor that had just been mopped and watched the reflection of my shoes in the shine. A nurse rounded the corner, pulling a med cart. A family clustered around a vending machine, debating whether pretzels count as health food in an emergency. I thought about my sister in a folding chair in a church basement, saying her name out loud, and about Dylan on a bus seat with his head against a window, and about a version of me who might have held on to them until my arms ached because I thought I was required to. True love, not a fix, Peter had said. I closed my eyes and whispered something like a prayer, even though I am not the praying kind. Let the envelope reach the right hands. Let the floor be dry when someone hurries. Let me be the kind of person who keeps my side of the hallway clean. We bought a second-hand dining table from an estate sale where the woman who had owned it had a cabinet full of candle holders and a life I could feel in the grooves. Peter sanded the top like he sands any stubborn thing, patient, sure he'll get there. We hosted a dinner and Keisha came with bread and Nate came with a bottle of wine and the night crew lead from the hospital brought a pie that could make a judge cry. We laughed. We told stories that make civilians uncomfortable because they involve bodily fluids and the way people fall in love with nurses when they're scared. We told clean jokes and clean lies and clean truths. Later, on the fire escape, Peter and I watched the city pulse. "You know what I hate?" I asked. "Plenty," he said cheerfully. "But which thing tonight?" "I hate that part of me still wants to make it easier for them," I said. As if I could. As if I should. He leaned his shoulder into mine. "I love that part of you," he said. "It means the other parts don't win. It means you're not building your heart out of policy." "I also love policy," I said. "I know," he said. "That's why I married you." Sometimes I wake at 4 and the question lands like a gull on a railing. Did I do good when I fired them after the first fail? I watch the question balance there, clever and hungry. I list what I know. I did what my company requires because my company is how 100 people pay their rent. I did what my boundary demands because I am someone whose life becomes a mess when I pretend I'm a saint. I did what a fair boss does because if I don't get to call myself fair. And still, I don't know. I didn't save them. They drink. They live in a trailer by the frontage road where flags whip year-round. They made choices. So did I. Some mornings, grief feels like a film I can't rinse off. Then I walk into a lobby where the air smells like lemon and wet wool and effort, and I see a stranger pause and breathe easier because the floor is safe and the light is clean, and I think, this is my portion. Not the whole world, not every rescue. This. I'll keep my side of the hallway clean. We drove past the bus stop with the smiling tire mascot last week on our way to look at a mechanical room Peter was trying not to fall in love with. The sky had that particular American blue you only get in cold air. Peter reached over and squeezed my knee. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. I wouldn't have met him if I'd still been married to Dylan. I wouldn't have learned that I could do 6 months of sink and shine and come out with a life that fit better. I wouldn't have built a company that can carry 100 people through a winter and come out sturdy on the other side. The thought makes me grateful enough to feel guilty. "Stop," Peter said once when I told him that. "Don't apologize to the past for being happy." "Okay," I said. "But what about the people who live in the past and they're right down the road?" "Then you wave," he said, "and you keep driving." So I do. I wave in my heart at a trailer by a frontage road, at a girl who may or may not be in a folding chair in a basement on the east side, at a man who might angle a floor scrubber correctly if someone tells him to. I keep driving toward lobbies that need shining and restrooms that need disinfecting and offices where the air smells right, because someone like me cared. I am solidly successful. Not a tycoon, not a saint. A woman with a company that pays on Fridays and a husband who laughs when I pronounce squeegee like a sacred word. I have a mother who loves me imperfectly and a city that constantly tests my resolve to be kind without lying. Did I do a good thing? I don't know. I did a clean thing. And when I fall asleep next to Peter and breathe in the ghost of lemon on my hands, I believe, if only for the length of that inhale, that clean is a kind of good I'm allowed to claim.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.